don't mind, do you?
No.
And introduce yourself too.
Yeah. This is...
Hi, my name is Guy Marriage. I'm an architect and I'm a senior lecturer at Victoria University and working with the Solid Decathlon team.
And I was asking you about the LEED certification and how big that is in New Zealand.
Yeah, we don't have the same LEED program. We have what's called New Zealand Green Building Council with a Green Star program, and so I've worked on 3 Green Star buildings so far, office buildings in Wellington, 2 new build and 1 refurbishment.
Is that sort of an equivalent to LEED or more like BOMA or something? Or?
No, very much equivalent to LEED. So 2 of the buildings have been rated and 1's still to be rated, but so they've all got the equivalent, I guess, of gold or platinum level on LEED. So it's only relatively recent in New Zealand that it's taken off, but it's really taken off and it's becoming very important. So I think the New Zealand Green Building Council system was set up taking a lot of information from the US LEED system and from the British system, whatever that's called, BREEAM, I think, and then with the Australians, so we worked out sort of trying to take the best of all the solutions and adapt it for New Zealand.
Oh, that's good.
So, for instance, in Australia, water use is very, very important because they've got so little water, whereas in New Zealand we've got lots and lots of water generally, and so that isn't given as much of a rating as energy is perhaps given.
Yeah, okay. So do you have any sort of different challenges in a city like Wellington, which is all so hilly and windy? And
no, Wellington's actually quite good because it's got an excellent temperature gradient, so very comfortable mean average temperature. It never gets too hot, never gets too cold. It's always quite windy.
Must have changed since I lived there. I spent 4 years in Wellington. It was cold.
Well,
it's
cold if you're exposed to the wind, then you get wind chill and it feels colder. But as long as you can cut the wind chill, then actually the temperatures actually stay quite stable. You know, like here in Washington, it snows and it gets really boiling, whereas in Wellington, it never gets cold enough to snow and never gets that boiling that it's really hot because there's always a bit of a breeze, so it always takes away the heat. But it's actually quite a stable temperature grade.
So it's good. Yeah, and if you're building a wood house like with this kind of thing, I mean, it's sort of earthquake. Do you have to take that sort of thing into?
Wood performs really well for earthquakes because it's flexible, and so we have earthquakes all the time, and all the houses are made out of timber, and it doesn't really bother them at all. It's only when you have things like a brick chimney that the brick chimney won't fall down, and so we don't build brick chimneys anymore. But so all the old brick buildings are either been strengthened or demolished, whereas all the timber buildings just flex and they're fine. So we're all quite used to living in timber buildings and having felt earthquakes, and the house just sort of whips around a bit and it settles down, so it's fine. But it means there's specific constraints that we have to design to for that reason, but they're not onerous for timber buildings. They're far more onerous for tall buildings. So,
well, what about your tall buildings? What are they? You talk about having the certification.
Yeah. So. Either steel frame or reinforced concrete frame.
Oh, okay.
But so, for instance, when I worked in England in a steel frame building, the column size was probably a 310 UB or UC, so just 300 square for the column for a 12-story building.
Oh, yeah.
And in New Zealand it would be about a metre square, so massively more, so 10 times more structure in terms of resisting that load, if you think of the cross-sectional size.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really serious problem. Obviously, if a building is on the ground and it shakes with the ground, then that's fine. But if it's a tall building, at the top it gets magnified, and that's with that whipping effect, it's really has an effect on a very tall building. So we're actually New Zealand, California and Japan are the sort of 3 areas where earthquake research is proceeding. New Zealand used to be sort of ahead of the pack, and we're now probably a bit behind. We need to catch up.
That's very good. Stop.